Hello, and welcome to the Fast Forward Amy Show, the show where we talk about how we can lift your life and business with simple strategies. I'm Fast Forward Amy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode every Tuesday. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about my most favorite topic of all the times, and it's driving my team nuts. They were like, Amy, please just record a podcast episode on this so you can get it out of your system. So today, I am going to be walking you through why I love the Formula One series on Netflix so much and why you should love it too, even if you don't care about racing or cars, and what I learned from it as a personal brand, as an entrepreneur, and as a team leader, and which principles I got from it, applied them to my business, and how you can apply them to your business too. This is episode 78, and that means that you can find all of these principles that I'll be listing out and sharing with you throughout the episode through fastforwardamy.com/78. And in all of my excitement, I cannot forget to tell you that not only did I get these principles that I'm going to be sharing with you from Formula One on Netflix, but I also have a lot of my own business principles, the Fast Forward Amy business principles. And if you are someone who likes to get motivated, who doesn't want to make the same mistakes I did over the years, then I would definitely recommend you go and grab my business Bible. I have a business Bible with 29 fast forward business principles, and you can grab that through fastforwardamy.com/business Bible. Okay, let's get started. I remember as a kid, just in the living room. I think it was Sundays at like 3 p.m. or something. And I remember being like, zoom, zoom, zoom. And I remember seeing my brothers and my dad watching Formula One and being like, well, this is the most boring thing ever to watch. And I never really thought about all of the things that go on behind the scenes of Formula One. Formula One, well, there are a lot of people involved. There are a lot of locations involved all over the world. There's a lot of technical stuff involved. Mindset, money. That is like a huge money business. I never really knew how it even worked. Like, they're just racing. Like, what are they racing for? How long are they racing? How many teams are there? I really didn't know anything about it. So 2 years ago, when I was sitting on the couch and I was reading on my Kindle, and my boyfriend was gonna watch some Netflix in my very pink living room, and he put on Formula One on Netflix. I was like, well, I don't want to watch that. I'll just keep reading. And I remember getting so distracted seeing what was going on the screen that after 5 minutes, I put my Kindle away and I was just locked and glued to the screen. And ever since then, I've been the biggest fan of the series Formula One on Netflix. Now, it has actually almost nothing to do with the actual races. I still haven't watched a race to this date. It has nothing to do with cars, in my opinion. It has everything to do with mindset, leadership, and just being a really cool person. So one of the first things I got from watching it last year when I was watching for season 2, I think, is I was really looking at it from a perspective as being a solopreneur. I had freelancers working for me, but I didn't really have a team, and I remember looking at it and being very intrigued by the drivers. It's like, wow, their mindset is so strong. They do so much to train their body and mind and all of that stuff, but I wasn't really focused on all of the other stuff. Now, a year later, I watched the new season 3, and I noticed that I was paying attention to completely different things. So I will share the lessons that I got like in 2020 from it and the lessons I got now from it, and I'm actually planning on rewatching all the seasons to look at what I can learn from it again if I rewatch it. So when we look at the drivers, they race and they rest. Me as an entrepreneur, I race and I race again and I race again and I race again. And I'm not even gonna lie about it. I also gained a lot of weight because I was always racing. And by racing, I mean working really hard. Because I can afford to always keep working hard and I work from home, and no one will really notice if my body changes because of stress or if my performance starts dwindling down because, I'm just sitting at my desk and I can just work a bit longer if my productivity would go downhill. I'm not saying my productivity went downhill. I don't think so. Actually, I got very productive. But I am saying that if a Formula One driver isn't in peak condition, they can't perform and win a race. If I'm not in peak condition, I can still just chug some coffee, record a podcast episode that is less than optimal. But if you're one of top 20 racers in the world, you race and then you rest and you work on your mind and body. And I realized for me, for example, with sales and launching, I race, and I take care of myself, and that's why I have a vocal coach and I have a personal trainer and all of those things. But they are still, or they were for a long time, they weren't really main focuses. I felt a little bit weird about paying so much money for a personal trainer. I felt a little bit weird about spending so many hours a week getting coached. But no one would think it is weird when a Formula One driver gets coached. So if you want to be running a company that performs really well, like a driver performs really well in the top 20 Formula One circuit, or like in the top 5 maybe, it will make sense that they invest in coaches. And for me, what I just got out of it was an affirmation that the thing that I was doing that was different from other people my age, investing in people who could teach me more and who could support me, like a housekeeper 20 hours a week and all of that stuff, that it was okay to do that because it allowed me to be performing at peak condition in my business and in my life. So they race and rest. I often forget to rest, but I mean, if I was a Formula One driver, I would never be able to show up to a race with barely any sleep. So why do I show up to podcast recordings with not a lot of sleep? By the way, I slept really well last night, so it's not the case today. See, I learned from it. And obviously, these are lessons that I've learned over and over again throughout the years. But it's just extremely interesting looking at these high performers, because I've heard a lot of people say in the past that entrepreneurship is kind of like an Olympic sport. And I actually don't know if Formula One is in the Olympics. I don't think so. You see how little and how much I know about it. My camera guy is now telling me they're not in the Olympics. I think that makes sense. That would be so weird if Formula One cars would be in an Olympic stadium. Okay, so not only do they race and rest, which for me is now going to be a new a thing. You know, you race, then you rest. If you're tired, you need to rest. But they also have a performance coach at their side at all times. And I sometimes feel, being the boss, I'm like, I did a thing, and then sometimes I'll kind of like force my team to be like, I just launched or I did a live, now I want to sit down and talk to everyone, and I want people to like cheer me up or lift me up. And sometimes I really miss those words of affirmation. But a Formula One driver has a performance coach at their sides at all times. Not only do they protect their mindset, because there are a lot of buffers from other people handling stuff, but they really have not only the protection and the gatekeeping in place, they also have someone literally lifting them up and working with them day and night to always be in peak condition. I now have a vocal coach who helps me, for example, with podcast recordings or speaking engagements. I have a business coach, I have a mental coach, like all of these different coaches really also help me in my business. And I've always really, I mean, I already talked about it, been into investing in yourself, but yeah, I still think we need to normalize it even more, to have someone help you with all of the things that are not your unique skill. Formula One driver also probably has someone, they have people literally telling them how to take the turns, and they'll walk the circuit before they do the race and things. So yeah, I don't know, why do we always think we need to do everything ourselves when a Formula One driver has a huge team making sure that they can drive those 90 minutes? Yeah, you're probably listening and being like, how does this apply to me? I think it applies to you, that there are a lot of areas in your life where you think you're alone, or you think you can't get support, but you can get support. And the trick to getting support, by the way, is by asking for it. And when you think I'm the only person who can do this, or it's normal that I feel alone in this, it doesn't have to be. You can get a business coach, you can get a mental coach, you can get a therapist, you can get someone to almost hold your hand when you're doing a live, you can ask people to help you set up videos. Like, there's so much more support available to you than you realize, probably. Not only do they race and rest and do they have a performance coach by their sides at all times, they also work on their mind and body a lot, and they have very good routines in place. I was looking at the Formula One drivers walking into, I guess it's called a pit lane. Should have prepared for this more. I hope someone sends this to Netflix, by the way. If you know anyone at Netflix, or you know any of the Formula One drivers, send this to them with my regards. So their mind and body routines were really interesting to me last year, because I was really focused on the driver. I was like, wow, when they walk into that pit lane and they get on the scale, because I guess they need to know how much they weigh because the car can't go over a total amount of weight. And there's also a lot of stuff with like they get dehydrated and they're drinking water all the time or other stuff. There's so many people, and it would be so easy for them to get distracted. And then it's so stressful, like they get on the track, and then there's people, and they get in and they put on their helmets, and the countdown starts, and everyone's like running and running away, and there is so much stress there. They must have incredible mind and body routines to perform at that level. Yet we as entrepreneurs were like, woke up like this, let me start working. No. I think taking away from all of this, if you want to perform at peak level like the drivers, you gotta behave like them and establish routines for yourself. For you, that might be putting on lipstick before you do a live. It might be a mantra that you chant. It might be a 90-minute morning routine. I don't know, but start incorporating things into your day that make it so that your mood can't determine how well you race. Your mood cannot determine how well you race, right? Your mood cannot determine how well you perform in your business. Your routines will determine that. Your support structure will determine that. You cannot leave it up to chance. Once you are running a business, once you have a team, like I have thousands and thousands of euros I have to pay to my team members every month. When I am PMSing, I can't be like, hey guys, I'm not showing up today. Oh, I'm not going to do this for my 400 active clients. No. No matter if I am in a good mood or a bad mood, or I slept well or I slept badly, I have my routines supporting me, my support structures supporting me, so that I can show up and deliver, I hope, a little bit like a Formula One driver. It's always weird for me to talk about this like this, because I'm not saying I am like them. I just really get inspired by them. And like, for example, my vocal coach, that's fairly new since the past summer, when I realized my voice was just completely getting fucked. I got a vocal coach to help me with it. And now she's actually at my podcast recordings, which I never knew was an option. I never knew it was an option for me to not badger anyone about my recordings and be like, do you think this is a good idea? And be like, asking my cameraman, do you think this is a good idea? And he's like, well, don't know anything about your business. Sounds solid. Might be better to actually ask someone who is looking at the storytelling structure of things, you know? So yeah, there's so much there. That's just what I wanted to say. By now, I hope you've pulled up the Netflix app and just started watching it and stopped listening to me. But if that is not the case, let me just entertain you more. So not only do we have the drivers and their habits, their mindset. Do you think a Formula One driver gets in the car and is like, let me just drive? Let me just show up today. Oh, at least I got on the track. You know, at least I did it. No. All 20 of those pilots, they want to win. Every single one of them wants a win. They want to get on that stage. They want that win. They actually do not want to rest until they get that first spot. Otherwise, they would, if they didn't have that very clear goal, they would never be able to thrive and survive, I think, under those very stressful conditions. It's because they have a very clear vision. Yet so many of us, we never get in the race. We never participate in the race because we're afraid we won't win. What if they are afraid they won't win? I mean, I'm guessing they're afraid they won't win, but they use that fear to fuel them, to exhilarate them to win. So what I want to say by this is there are these quotes online, and they're like, be fearless in the pursuit of your dreams. Now, be fearless. I am so afraid all the time. I mean, not all the time. I am afraid I'll disappoint my clients. I'm afraid I'm not a good enough boss. Granted, I have some mindset stuff I can work on myself, but I don't think it's about the absence of fear. I think it's about using fear for the right goal. Don't let fear paralyze you. Let fear fuel you and inspire you to go for it, right? So they drive to win. They don't drive to participate. Because if you drive to participate, you're never going to win. I noticed this last summer and the summer before. So I drive competitive rallies actually with my dad, old-timer rallies. And last summer we had been driving for a year. It had been exactly a year since our first race. And we drove to this rally and we were like, you know what? We've been at this for a year. We had this climb in fame as well in the Belgian rally driving scene. And it was a 2 generations rally, which is a rally where all like parents with kids or uncles with nephews or whatever. So it was my dad and me driving that rally. And it meant a lot to my dad to win there. And it meant a lot to me to win there too, because my brother had been second already on that rally once. I'm not saying it's because of that I wanted to win, but we really wanted to win. And we had been training for it previous rallies. And we're like, that is the rally. We are going to be first. We're going to hit first place. We're going to hit first place. We're going to hit first place. We drove to win. I'm not going to tell you what happened yet. Last year, we went to the same rally. And we got there. We hadn't been training. We weren't really focused. We were like, are we participating? Are we not participating? Let's participate. Let's drive. Let's do our best. Which rally do you think we won? The one when we were thinking, let's just do it? Or when we were hyper focused on that first spot? We won when we were hyper focused on that first spot. When you look at the Oscar speeches, how many people, when they finally win, after they got nominated maybe 10 times already, when they finally win, they will tell you, I envisioned this. Since I was 5 years old, I envisioned seeing myself on this stage. I saw myself holding this trophy or like being on that concert stage or in that best-selling movie, whatever. They envisioned it. They were aiming for the win. They weren't aiming to be in a movie at some point. They wanted to win. And that is what you can really see in Formula One. They are all in it to win it. Because if you're not in it to win it, you're in it to lose it? I don't know, but you're not in it to win it. So just them going for first place is really inspiring to me. And often we just get held back by fear. Whereas I'm certain they also have fear. They just let it fuel them. And there are also a lot of teaching opportunities in Formula One. I think it was in 2018 that there was a season where the pit stop failed twice. And twice they put the wheels on the wrong side of the car. And I know my dad always says when there is a consistent error, a consistent human error, it's because there is there's a teaching opportunity there, because it means that you need to onboard your people better. If the same things always go wrong, you need to educate your people better. So yeah, when the pit stop fails, something goes wrong there, and it's something that they've been practicing for an entire year. There's either a teaching problem or a process problem, and I see that too. Sometimes I get really upset in my business when I see a mistake being made, and then I'm like, well, then it's a communication problem, it's an educating problem, or it's just a problem because we have a gap in a process. So whenever things fail, there's always a teaching opportunity in there. I have 2 more things I want to say, but I don't know if it's making sense already what I'm talking about. I guess you should really go and watch the series. As I said, even if you're not interested in Formula One, it's really about the people. So the thing that really switched for me is last year I noticed that I was really focused on the drivers, and this year I was looking at the team leaders. I was looking at the investors. Because I have also grown from being a personal brand by myself as a solopreneur to actually having a team and having multiple people depend on me, depend on my performance as a driver, but also depend on my performance as being their coach and their leader. And honestly, I always thought I was a born entrepreneur and a born leader. I think I'm a born entrepreneur, but the born leader part, I will be honest and say that becoming a leader and becoming other people's boss has been my biggest challenge of the past year. And looking at the different roles in Formula One has really made it clear to me why that is. By the way, anytime I say Formula One, you gotta take a shot. Coffee or wine. Wine shots. Do wine shots exist? I don't know. I was looking at the show and I was thinking, wow, if my personal brand is a driver and I race with a launch or with a video or live or a coaching call, I come back and then I become the team leader. Or I'm also 100% the shareholder. And then there's also the pit stop team that need to know what they're doing and the different brand partnerships. And all of a sudden, it made it so clear for me why sometimes I have difficulty switching between the different roles I have, because they are so different. Being the investor means that you are the shareholder, you care about the results, you don't want to waste too much time, you want to be very precise about what you want. Being the team leader, you're like, how is everyone doing? Let me motivate all of the people. But what if you need to motivate yourself because you're also the driver? That is not easy. So from those different roles, I also learned more how I can but I need to look at being in the different roles. So let's say you're the CEO of the team, or like the team leader, and I know the exact terms for it. I saw that when someone isn't performing well, they fire fast. And they fire maybe a driver, maybe a team member. And this sounds really harsh when I say it, which is kind of the problem, because when you would see the investor saying like, this isn't gonna work, let's cut these ties and let's do something else on that show, you wouldn't bat an eye. But when I would see myself doing something, being like the face of a company, for example, it would seem really harsh, and it would be like, oh, why can't you be nice? Because you're supposed to be nice to everyone. So knowing that sometimes I just need to step into the shareholder role or in the leader role and not in the I want everyone to like me as being the driver role really helped my perspective. And also trust your gut. I think when you are building a business and when you're building a team, for me, I guess I made the mistake of allowing for too much freedom and thinking like, hey, I built this and I worked years and years on it and everyone can just chime in right now. But actually, I am still the boss. And I think as a 28-year-old female boss, I have difficulty accepting like my inner driver, which is actually what they say like in a DISC test, for example, like the red. If you've ever done a personality test, it's like when you have a lot of red in your character, it's typical for entrepreneurs. Sometimes I have difficulty embracing the redness because I also want to be nice and I want everyone to like me and the brand to fit. But it is still my business. And I do need to make decisions, not just what is best for me, but what is best for the business. And you see them doing that. They don't make decisions what is best for the driver. They make decisions what is best for the actual business that is getting run there on the tracks. So yeah, maybe trust your gut or just trust your inner power to make the right decisions for your business, and don't allow your feelings or your ties to other people to make all of those decisions, because you can't afford that in your business. It's kind of like how you can't afford your mood to guide your business decisions, right? And last but not least, and this is one that's so huge, and I've noticed myself bumping into this lately. When I was starting out in my business, I had nothing to lose. I literally had nothing, so I had to work really hard in order to gain something. And when you see a tennis player, and when they're running, or like, well, tennising behind in a match, like on Wimbledon, when they have like all the points against them, and they only have, I don't know, 2 sets left to win. I think it was Serena Williams that I saw a documentary on, that she just all of a sudden, she realizes I have nothing to lose anymore, so I'm just going to bring my A game. The drivers, there's one driver who got bumped to the B team. He got bumped from Red Bull to, forgot the name of the other team. That says a lot. Alpha Tauri, I think, is the team. So he got bumped to the B team and was like, well, you're not performing well enough. We're going to put another driver in your seat, fire fast. You go improve yourself in that other team. But that guy didn't want to be in that Alpha Tauri team. He wanted to be in the A team. He wanted to be in the Red Bull team and win with the Red Bull colors and logo on his car and win Formula 1. When he was still racing for Red Bull and he was starting to feel the hot breath in his neck, like maybe they'll fire me, maybe they'll bump me down to the other team, he was constantly looking behind. Like he was constantly looking at, what if I lose? What if I lose? So he wasn't focused on, I need to win. He was playing not to lose. He wasn't playing to win. When he got bumped, or like he got the degradation, he wasn't looking like, what if I get bumped down? He was like, I want my spot. I want to win in the spot I think I deserve. So all of a sudden, his fears didn't paralyze him anymore. They fueled him because he really wanted to win. He wanted to win more than he was afraid to lose more. And that is what we all need to learn in our businesses. And I've learned this too. When I started out with my personal brand, I had nothing to lose. No one took me seriously. And now sometimes I'm like, what if I don't look good on camera? What if it doesn't seem professional? What if my branding isn't on point? And there are so many things that I can get stuck in out of fear, out of risk of losing what I've already built up, which somehow prevents me from playing to win and going all in and kind of like making myself look super ridiculous by going all in. I didn't realize this because of Formula 1, but I really saw it coming back there too. If you're playing not to lose, It's kind of like just participating to participate. You need to always be playing to win, and you gotta play like you've got nothing to lose, because otherwise you're not gonna be making the big bold moves that you need to be making. Okay. I've learned a lot from the show. I hope you can look at it with different perspectives too. I was just talking to my dad, and he was talking about all kinds of other perspectives himself. So I think that's really interesting how we all get different things from it. I'm gonna rewatch the entire show. This was free advertising for Netflix, so Netflix, you're welcome. Formula One people, hit me up. I don't know, someone can come on the show. And just to recap what we've been talking about, we talked about the drivers who race and rest. We talked about having a performance coach and people supporting you in your role. We talked about having routines that kind of combat your mood so that you don't let your mood run your business. We talked about having a winning mindset instead of a being afraid to lose mindset, and the teaching opportunities that arise when we bump into obstacles, and firing fast, because sometimes you need to be making decisions for your business and you kind of need to stop being a people pleaser. Newsflash, you need to stop being a people pleaser in many, many areas of your business. I am Fast Forward Amy, and before we wrap up, I still have something for you. If you liked these principles and you're like, this really triggered me, I've made a list of 29 of my favorite fast forward business principles that guide me every day in performing my very best in my business, and I think they can guide you too in becoming a better boss, better leader, and better entrepreneur overall. You can go and grab those through fastforwardamy.com/business Bible. I've linked everything up in the description here. Well, my team did, because don't be mistaken, this is not just a one-woman show. I have an entire team supporting me as well, and we support each other. And just click the link in the description, and if you want to have the resources or the link of this show and everything, you can find that on the website. And the website link is fastforwardamy.com/78. Okay, tag me on Instagram if you like this episode, if I made you smile or whatever, and if you know anyone at Formula One, let me know. Okay, talk to you next week, Tuesday, for a new episode, and have a happy day.